There we go.
Yep. Thank you.
So
Record
I've
that.
got it.
Thank you.
So what I want to do is go over this, and then I want as many questions as I can get, because there's going to be so much I'm not going to cover. Don't worry about the topic related to it. Just go ahead and ask the question. I'll try to answer it the best I can. This has been authorized by His Majesty of Mangkualaman. As of Thursday, he finally approved it and said, go for it. And you're probably wondering what KPA at the beginning of my name is. That stands for Kanjang Panja Arya, or a royal prince of Mangkualaman. So that is one of the honors that I have been given, and that was given to me in August, but I haven't officially received it yet. So I have to go there later on this year. So the historical background of Mangkualaman is very interesting because it didn't exist until the late 1700s. And it was created by the Dutch thanking this noble family for their support during the conflicts they had. For those of you who don't know, the Dutch East India Company had control of the archipelago. And part of the reason was because lots of volcanic activity, which created gold, silver, gems, as well as palm oils and lots of sea life that the Dutch were able to use to get rich and gain control over the area. So the Kingdom of Mangkualaman is deeply rooted in the culture and political history of Java. Now, I don't know who knows where Java is specifically, but Java is the central island, the main island of Indonesia, or the Republic of Indonesia, which is surrounded by, on the east, the Philippines, in the south, Australia, to the far west, Africa, and to the north, we have Thailand, Cambodia, and a number of other countries. And Malaysia specifically is connected. A lot of the land masses they share together. The Republic of Indonesia is under Sharia, so Islamic law. That does not mean that everybody there is Muslim. It means that that's the law of the land, and they accept many others as well, Christians, and Jews, which is interesting because the Dutch tend to be quite often mostly Jews, are only accepted on the island of Bali. So these are things that you can ask me later, and if you're wondering why. It emerged during the time when smaller principalities coexist with larger Islamic sultanates, sharing a delicate balance of power and influence. The kingdom's history intertwines with Indonesia's broader narrative, reflecting centuries of Hindu-Buddhist traditions overlaid by Islamic influence in the 15th century. Mangkualaman has maintained its identity through its steadfast loyalty to traditional values, and even in the face of colonial and modern pressures. This resilience can be attributed to the strategic leadership of its rulers and advisors who have safeguarded its sovereignty and culture. Now, I want to say a little bit about, even though Indonesia is a republic, in the center of Java Island, which is central to everything, it's the longest. It would be the same as going from Seattle, where I live, or Los Angeles, all the way to New York. That's how long the island is. In that area there, you have multiple volcanoes, and you had multiple kingdoms. The most important kingdoms were in the city of Yogyakarta, or I say Yogyakarta because that's how it's spelled, but it's Yogyakarta. They call it Georgie. You have 3 main kingdoms within the sphere of the city, of which Mangkualaman is one of them. However, according to the government, the Republic of Indonesia, when they took over in 1947, they created a special area of Indonesia, which was in Yogyakarta, which would be ruled by a governor and a deputy governor. Both of those, who would be continuously the heads of the two major royal families there. Mangkualaman was an offshoot of Pakuliman, which is Mangkualaman now, and they do not have a ruling position. However, culturally, they're very important to the people of Mangkualaman. Mangkualaman is renowned for its vibrant culture, harmonious blend of ancient and modern traditions. The people of this kingdom celebrate their heritage through elaborate ceremonies, including royal parades and traditional dances like the Bediha. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correct, but I apologize if I'm not, which is performed to honor the spirits of the ancestors and the divine. So I've been very fortunate to see this, and I believe a lot of people have seen similar dances you'd see in Thailand or Cambodia. So very traditional, very stressed positions for the women performing these dances, but it's very beautiful. The kingdom's craftspeople are celebrated for their intricate batik textiles. So I know that Jessica was going to show some of the photos I provided to her, but I told her not to worry about it in any order. In some of their, you'll see the batiks. So they're very colorful shirts, reds, blues, with designs in them, representing spiritual beliefs or leadership and sometimes royal families. Additionally, their culinary traditions are equally significant, showcasing a unique fusion of Javanese flavors, including dishes reserved for royal banquets. What truly sets the people of Mangkualaman apart is their unyielding respect for hereditary and their connection to their monarchy, which acts as a spiritual and cultural beacon for the kingdom. So, like I was talking about the Chris knives earlier, spirits are imbued in everything in the culture there. It's very unique compared to other Muslim countries I've been to, who have, here in Indonesia, they've been able to blend all these different things that are significant to them, such as Chris knives. We have a history going back about 1,300 years. However, a verbal history that goes back around 3,000 years on these knives alone and the process they go through. These knives are imbued with a spirit when they're made by the masters. I will get more into that later. The royal family of leadership. The royal family of Mangkualaman holds the revered position of the hearts of the people, and they truly do. I have been there, and the people love them. They very much try to have events where people are invited and involved in activities. I've been to 4 of them, as I've said. I've been to one in Bali, one in well, 2 on Java, and actually a second one in Bali. So pretty much those 2 places, but they have them all around the archipelago every year. And they showcase all of these things, the dances, the batiks, and their pottery, their culture in general, storytelling. Another one is they do these puppet shows where they use shadows to create these, and the puppets are made out of, if you can see this is a piece of leather that has been created, and they would do this with the puppets on little poles and tell whole stories of kings and queens and princes and princesses. The Hindu gods are also very important in there as well, and you see this in their puppet shows as well. So Vishnu, which we think of being from India, is there as well. Of interest is the current king was the son-in-law of the previous monarch, who chose him due to his qualities as a leader after the last king's daughter was not allowed to rule. Because it's a Muslim country, women are not allowed to rule by tradition. However, there are some queens that do rule there, but they're of a different tradition. So the daughter, who is the current queen, she was very much trained to be the king or the leader of the people. And her husband was from another royal family, but he was the youngest son, I believe. And he has taken over, and they have gone from almost non-existence and nobody knowing about Mangkualaman to international acclaim, and specifically all over Asia. The current king spends probably 2/3 of the month traveling to other countries in Asia for acknowledgement and working for peace between the peoples and ways that they can help each other. So there's a lot of money that goes back and forth trying to help the people. They have days when they provide food. They have a charity system because the government of Indonesia does not provide a social welfare system like ours. They do provide what they call what are they called? We call them for orphanages. Orphanages is not just for children there, it's for anybody who is homeless or anybody who has mental health issues. But they don't really do any mental health work with them. They just feed them and keep them in the facility. Completely different than our system here. In Indonesia, they need to raise funds because the government won't do it. Now, if you worked for the government or were military, then there is a form of social services for those individuals. But anyone who doesn't, if you were born with an issue, you're not taken care of. So Mangkualaman is very important because that's part of what they try to do, is try to raise money to provide the necessities for the people in Yogyakarta. And as I said, the people love them because of that. The tradition of not allowing women raised a lot of problems back in 2018. And there were a lot of the other kingdoms arguing. So as one side against another. We think that politics in the United States is bad. Indonesia, it's very bad. I got stuck there, was it 2.5 years ago, and couldn't get out of the country for a week because they had a bunch of fights going on near the airport. And they actually had to shut the airport down for a few days. So allowing another individual from another kingdom to come over and become the king of this kingdom because he's married to the queen reflects very much on their adaptability as a kingdom to preserve the leadership while adhering to tradition. It wasn't what everybody wanted, but it was the best for the situation. One of the other kingdoms wanted to put their son in power because they were cousins. But they chose to go this way, which raised a few eyebrows, but seems to be calming down. The government recognizes them now, and things are moving forward. The royal family's role extends beyond governance. They are the custodians of the kingdom's moral and cultural compass, where key advisors, meaning all individuals, nobility who advise the king, give them advice, and courtiers play a vital part in supporting the kingdom's vision, often seated near him during court proceedings to signify their importance. So in a lot of ways, they're similar to a European royal family with different names for titles, obviously, and some changes to the system, but very much involved with everyone there. Of interest to some of you, the kingdom participates in Matra. Don't ask me what it stands for. I can't pronunciate it. Organization, which is recognized nobles and royals of traditional kingdoms and those currently ruling. They just finished in Yogyakarta one session just a couple of weeks ago. The next one is a very, very important one for them. It will be the first time that a sitting noble, or royal in this case, the Yongdi of Malaysia, which is a monarchy, will recognize them. So it'll be held in Malaysia, which is the first time that the Yongdi will be present with His Majesty of Mangkualaman as the honored guest. This will be May 6th of this year through the 9th, and then the Yongdi will come down to Malaysia for the 10th to the 13th to Borobudur, which is just north of Yogyakarta. It's a huge temple complex, one of the world's top, I'm trying to remember the name for it, cultural places. Buddhist temple, and the Yongdi will be the honored guest at that time. Malaysia has a system of monarchy where the Yongdi, or the king, changes hands every so many years to one, I believe it's either of six, I think it's six other kings of smaller areas in Malaysia. So it will change, but they are actually recognizing Mangkualaman on a level that a lot of people have contested and saying they're not recognized, but they really are recognized. So as I was talking about, noble and royal titles and honors, such as the one was given me, titles in Mangkualaman carry immense significance, representing a system of governance and recognition rooted in service and loyalty. Some of these titles can go back thousands of years, or variations of them as well. Advisors to the king hold positions of both ceremonial and practical importance, seated prominently within the royal court. I am the king's advisor. I am the only advisor he's ever had who is outside the kingdom. So that's a great honor for me as well. When I go there, I sit just behind him and to the side. These titles and honors are not only conferred social prestige, but also bind individuals to kingdom values. Now, they don't bind an individual to a political system or a governance, but just to the kingdom values. So me getting approval from the king to even talk about this is very important. Furthermore, the kingdom offers a fascinating parallel to other royal traditions worldwide, as seen in the use of extensive noble titles, some being very long, but having many equivalencies to European noble titles. In Mangkualaman, individuals recognized for extraordinary service may receive titles equivalent to Lord, Count, Marquis, Prince, and Princess. There's many more. There's subtle variances in between many of these. These honors reflect deep respect for contributions that bolster the kingdom's sovereignty and its people's well-being. Further, there are many family and royal orders that His Majesty may give in honor of deeds for the kingdom, including Dato, Dato Sri, and Dato Sri Utma, which are used in conjunction with some of the higher level nobility titles, such as Raden Temenggung Dato, or Kanjung Raden Temenggung Dato Sri, and Kanjung Dato Sri Utma. Like I said, very difficult to say these words, let alone remember what they stand for. So typically letters are just used. So spiritual and religious beliefs, I touched on it a little bit earlier, that everything is imbued with a spirit there. Plants, animals, people, of course, and things. Mangkualaman is a kingdom where spirituality and religion play a central role. Its people practice a centric belief system, blending Islam with traces of Hindu-Buddhist traditions. The king is seen as not only as a political leader, but also as a spiritual guide, embodying divine authority. He's not a god, but he does go and imbue some of those attributes, and therefore the people revere him because of that. Ceremonial practices such as offerings to ancestral spirits and prayers during royal events underscore this sacred connection. Dances, like I was saying, can be done in respect for the spirits of our ancestors or specific things, an animal, a beloved pet. But in most cases, it would be for reverence for the royal family. Somebody still has their mic on, so I keep picking up just a little bit in the background. Ceremonial practice such as, no, I already said that, sorry about that. The kingdom's unique approach to faith has allowed it to maintain harmony within its diverse population, fostering unity and continuity across generations. As I said, Islam is the rule of the land. However, there are Christians, they separate Catholics and Protestants. There are Jews, but they are only really accepted on Bali due to the situation with the Dutch. However, there seems to be more of an acceptance happening within a number of the countries around them. So I'm hoping that will change eventually. Bali is an interesting place because that tends to be very Hindu and Buddhist, with lots of statues. Where the island of Java is very Muslim in nature, but still has many statues and belief systems that are integrated into society, and people don't realize that there's a difference. So, as I said, I was going to keep the introduction very brief so people can ask questions. In conclusion, the Kingdom of Mangkualaman stands as a living testament to Indonesia's diverse heritage. Its history, culture, royal family, and deeply spiritual traditions offer valuable insights into how the traditional monarchy can adapt while preserving its identity. As we reflect on the enduring influence of Mangkualaman, let us also consider the importance of practicing cultural legacies like this one in an ever-globalizing world. The kingdom has a few ways you can support them: by joining the Noble Society of Mangkualaman, getting involved with auctions or other events that they have online, or direct support for them. They need your help to help support the people. As I was saying, and I wanted to go a little bit into more, I had shown you the leather piece from there. Chris knives, which I can do another lecture in more detail on this, are very old and have significant meaning. They are more of a status symbol than they are for war. Like I said, they may go back 3,000 years by oral tradition. Each Chris knife has different markings on it. This one was a high-level noble's because it has these little figures that I was talking about, the puppets that you've seen before placed on it. The shape of the gart here is that of a boat because they were boat people. And of course, we see more going down as well, symbols. The blade is, people have seen this before, the zigzaggedy blades before. They're not very wide. They didn't need to. When they were actually used for war, their purpose was not to stab a person, but to touch them with the edge of the blade and just touch the skin. They used to use poisons to make their enemy have a very difficult time because of the toxins that were used. So when this is made by the empu, or the master creator of the blades, they imbue it with a spirit. It's not a human spirit, it's a new spirit, they believe, that comes down and lives in it. Part of the process is that every blade is created unique for each individual. So when you have a blade, if it's not meant for you, you have nightmares. If it is meant for you, you have peaceful sleep, is what they believe. Households will have crysknives that are hundreds and hundreds of years old, sometimes maybe 1,000. And they put these in the rafters of the house to protect the home from evil spirits, or jinn, as we've been told a lot of times. And they have stories talking about how the blades will actually come out of their sheath and fly around to attack the evil spirits. Never seen it myself, but it's very interesting stories. And this is throughout the system there. This is a statue. You can see here with Vishnu and Garuda. Garuda is the bird god. Let's see if I can see here. He's riding on the bird god here. Garuda is actually, he's kind of like Loki, we find out in Viking history. He's kind of a mischief maker. He takes your food, takes things of yours, but eventually, when you need him, comes back and helps you. So he's not all bad. There are multiple different traditions throughout Indonesia, not just those you would find in Yogyakarta. Yogyakarta is very specific to that island. So every island's different. You go down to Timor and you have the empire of Kupang, which is completely different. It's a Christian island. And then you have Timor-Leste, which was Portuguese ruled, but has gained independence, I believe, since the early 1990s. And then you also have areas that were inhabited by other cultures. You can very much see an African influence. Java and some of the islands coming straight down were very much influenced by the Chinese. They actually speak Hokkien or Hak there, which is a Chinese dialect, as well as Javanese and Indonesian languages. So it can get kind of difficult sometimes to understand what people are saying if they're speaking in their traditional languages. So at this point in time, I'd like to open this up for any questions.
Vance, would you like to share any images as well?
Yes, if you have those images available, Jessica, if you could go and do that real quick. I think I only gave you, what, about 8
Sure.
pictures?
Oh, well, we came up with a few. Let's
Okay.
see here. Let me put this into the correct mode. And maybe you can tell us more about each of these. And there are some images from our social media as well. So we can probably scan past those. But here's a map of Java.
Right. As I said, this is the central island. Jakarta, which you see off to the right on the map, is the capital. And it's also the largest city. I believe it's now the 5th largest city in the world. At one point in time, it was the 2nd largest. But as we go east, we head across. And we see Solo, which is a kingdom by itself. And then Yogyakarta, it looks like Yogyakarta at the very bottom. So that is where the kingdom is located. And there's three main kingdoms in there, with two of them holding governorship and deputy governorship, and Mangkualaman being only a ceremonial, but still recognized by the government position. And if we continue east, you'll see that Bali is way over. It's disconnected from Java, but there's a bridge that goes across, or you can fly there. But it's very different. It's, as I said, it's more of a Hindu-Buddhist kind of culture who's accepting of all other religions and spiritual beliefs. Okay, let's move on to the next, please. Okay, that looks like that's up in the hill lands. I believe that's on Java Island, but I'm not sure where that was. I was all over Java. It might be in Bandung, which is very hilly, and that's where coffee comes from. If you've ever had Java coffee, that's where it comes from. Here, oops, you can go. Well,
There you go.
you're bouncing around.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So one more.
I had some help from the cat.
Oh, that's
So
fun. Okay.
now we're back on track. Here you are in
Great.
your
Thank you.
traditional dress.
I'm in traditional dress, which has changed now that I'm part of the royal family. So the skirt, or the sarong, and the cap change and become different colors. This is just whatever colors I chose at the time. The jacket is traditional Javanese uniform jacket for court life. The gold around the neck indicates a high-level noble. As a prince, I now am allowed around the wrists, gold around there. So just tells a little bit about me. And if you can go on, Jessica. Oh, and then also there's an award. That was the Royal House award that's going across my chest, and the house crest on the uniform as well. Okay, go ahead, Jessica. Thank you. All right, this is very important. To the left is His Majesty Mangkualaman and his wife, who was actually from the family. Her name's Fita. His name is Wiro Udo. Everybody says Gray Fita, but Gray is actually her title. It's just the letters, which means queen and king. And the gentleman in the middle, who looks very European, is actually the deputy Yongdi of Malaysia. It's very interesting when you're visiting Indonesia as well as Malaysia. You end up with a lot of people that look European, because there were a number of Dutch families that stayed there. They owned a lot. So, and they had sided with the Indonesian government or the Malaysian government. And therefore they have stayed and maintained their European looks a lot. But he's the deputy, which I believe is becoming the Young D this year. So that's why it's very important. They were meeting with him this last year. Okay, so go ahead. This was the first time I visited the kingdom. And to the left is the chancellor. And very nice man. He's actually lives in Malaysia. Lecheman is his name. And then, of course, myself, receiving my title, my first title, which was KRT, Kanjeng Rada Tumenggung, which means His Highness Lord Regent. And we were at a converted Dutch residence that was turned into a high-level restaurant in Jakarta. Very nice place. Okay. I don't think that was supposed to be
I
in there.
think this may, no, I think it was not. Apologies.
That's okay. Okay, and there's some traditional dance.
Some examples of the batik fabric too that you were talking about, right?
True, yes. The lower portion, especially the patterns.
Whoops. There we go.
And as you can see,
This
it looks a
was
lot like Thai. Okay, let's just one of the groups there. Chris knives. His Majesty.
sorry.
This is no, that's okay. Go back. His Majesty is trying to auction Chris knives. He had his historical archivist go and choose a number that had some history but weren't extremely important for the royal family. That hopefully later this year we'll be able to auction off. I'm right now waiting for the translation from Indonesian into English language about the Chris knives. Some of them are very old and have history. They might have been in battle. It's hard to say, but this one looks like it's probably more ceremonial. Okay, go ahead. This is the puppet.
I don't know why that jumped, but here we go. Yeah.
So this is the idea of the shadow puppets that you would see, and the purpose with leather where they punch the holes through so you can see it. Leather's very, very thin. So the light coming through, which of course in one time was candles, you can see more detail. Okay. This is Borobuddha. Sorry about the picture. It's a little blurry. But at the top, we see stupas. Not the pointed portion, but just below it, the kind of rounded. And those are places where if you look through them, because they're open, you'll see a Buddha sitting in each one of them. And they are very much a spiritual location. You can actually, I did not get to go into it. It was closed that day, and I didn't get a walk on it either. I wish I had. So I'm supposed to go back in May, and I'll be able to do that.
I believe this is our last photo.
We'll find out, won't we?
We shall. Yep.
Okay. If you want to switch it back, great. So, were there any questions?
Yes, if I
Go
may.
ahead, Derwin.
Yes, okay. So you mentioned there was fighting at the airport while you were there 2 years ago. Right. And what's the if I may ask, what's the social situation amongst the various ethnic groups of Indonesia right now? And I'll mention why I'm asking this. My mother is from Malaya or Malaysia,
Okay.
as it's now called, from the Chinese minority there, and she remembers in the 50s and 60s there were all sorts of ethnic fighting and tensions and riots and pogroms, to use a Russian term, against the Chinese in Indonesia and Malaysia. There was a time when it got so bad that both the People's Republic of China and the Republic of China, Chiang Kai-shek's regime, had to send ships to evacuate people out of Indonesia. And when I was there in the late 1970s, you could still see some ongoing ethnic tensions going around. Like there was a law in Malaysia to abolish Chinese on business signs and so on. So we actually had people removing Chinese signs from shops and stores and department stores. And Indonesia was that way too. What's it like? That was 1977. What's it like now?
Right. most of the tension that goes on is political. It's believed they have three political parties, and there's always infighting between them. They don't like this person, they don't like that person. So that's why I said they fight more than we do here in the United States or Canada. But there still is some ethnic cleansing that goes on, but that would be over on the island of Papua. There's Papua New Guinea, which was controlled by the British, and then Papua, which was Indonesian. And that also happens to be where the largest gold mine in the world is. And so it became a matter of wiping out the indigenous people so they could gain control over the gold. There's still a little bit of that going on. There's still a little infighting. It's not the best place to go. But the island of Java, which is the main island, is pretty safe. Like I said, I've been there 8 times now, and I've never had a problem. I have noticed a little bit of tension between Muslims and Christians, but it's not fighting. It's more like snubbing nose kind of situation. But that's only a few of the people. Most of the people are very nice there. And I other than the city of Jakarta, which is like New York City on steroids. It's it's very rambunctious, let's say that. You have a lot of gangs running around. They call them vandals, and people can hire them to do all sorts of things. Politically, I got involved. I was a courier for them a few years ago. I had documents that they had asked me to bring back to the United States to keep them safe, because the attorney there was being attacked by vandals. They did not want her to have these documents, which would prove that one of the kingdom's traditional tribal people were owed money by the government. So it got a little hairy with that, but being a US citizen, I didn't have to worry about it. They weren't about to do anything to me. So I brought the documents back, handed them over, although they rifled through my suitcase and everything trying to find them at the airport. So, but I was carrying them on my back. So that would be the scariest thing about being over there. But Jakarta is beautiful, wonderful people. Bali is wonderful. Timor, which is where Kapong is, that's just north of Australia, has some of the best surfing in the world on the south coast of the island. The Australians go there all the time. Very, very nice people. And I'm supposed to go back there as well and meet with the new emperor. The last one passed away in September. So did I answer your question?
Oh, yeah, you did. That's interesting. Yeah, hopefully things will, it's hard to say. That part of the world is
right
with various sorts of tensions. But and you mentioned that the blades of the Cree knives can sort of fly around and attack the evil spirits and
right
so on. Yeah, it's fascinating. Did you ever come across the evil tree spirits while you were there?
I heard about them, but I have not seen them. And there's also an island near Timor that supposedly, if you go to the island, you'll meet people there, and they're very nice, and they invite you to their village, and they'll offer you food. But if you eat their food, you become one of them, and you cannot go back to the other world. It's almost like this space in between. So very interesting stories in Indonesia, and they truly believe a lot of this too. So to say, oh, that's poppycock or whatever, is very much an insult to them. So you have to be very open-minded. I believe it's probably like that in Malaysia as well, but Indonesia is very much about spirits and family history and heritage, and that everything has a spirit in it, and we need to respect it.
Yeah, it's interesting. My mother, who's Chinese from Malaya, seems to have picked up some of that stuff. Like we put mirrors and windows so the evil spirits will reflect
Right.
back out of the house and stuff like that. And my father, who's from Hong Kong, would sort of joke about this, saying, "Oh yeah, the evil tree spirits, people coming from Southeast Asia after World War II would bring all these weird stories about, any random tree would have a evil spirit living in it." And
Right.
there's actually, if you get Netflix, there's actually a whole TV series about Southeast Asian spirits.
Right.
Yeah, God.
Well,
Yeah.
and actually the history with World War II is very fascinating too, and how a lot of this stuff came about.
Yeah.
So, and how the Republic came about because of the Japanese. The Indonesian people were tired of being ruled by others, the Portuguese, the Dutch, and they got their freedom, and then or they were getting their freedom, and when the Japanese came in and the Japanese took over, and so they had to fight them to get them out, even though World War II ended. And finally in 47, because the Dutch tried to come back in and take over, they kicked them out and won their independence.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Thank you, Vance.
Yeah, sure. Anyone else with any questions? I keep seeing Lee's
I
thing
think
light up a little bit there, but
I think he's got something on in the background. So,
oh, okay.
Well, Doc, I think that was a fascinating presentation. Really a great addition to our library presentations. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for sharing. I've heard you talk about this in passing, so it was pretty interesting to get the background to some of this as well,
Right.
especially the role that helping to deal with charity and helping fellow man and human beings, it plays a vital role in some of these outreach efforts as well. So that's always
Right.
something we can take away as kindness works everywhere. So thank you
And
for
that's
that.
part of the reason I go there, is to try to help where I can. Unfortunately, the more you give, the more they want. So, but that's not just Indonesia, that's every place in the world. So
Right.
I've had to pull back a little bit the last year.
Mhm.
But I feel very much a connection with the people and
That's wonderful.
what they want. So I did not go into a lot of detail. Like I said, I have just a short paper completely on the historical overview
Oh my.
that I wrote, which would have taken an hour by itself to go over. So I figured everybody wanted to hear an overview instead. I have another one I was writing on crysknives, but there's lots of books on crysknives. So
Yeah.
and this one is over 500 years old,
My.
and it's from a royal family. So oh, and the blades are made, the good ones like this, the blades are made out of meteorite, if anybody was interested. So
Very, very fascinating.
so yeah, they're and when we have auctions, if anybody's interested, please let me know. Or if anybody's interested in joining the Noble Society of Mangkualaman, Noble Order, let me know as well. Be happy to hook you up there. They are a member of the society, Augustine Society. We have recognized their orders, funds honor them. And I don't know if we've recognized any of their titles yet, but we're working on that.
That's wonderful.
So
Technically they are not a member of the society, but their
True.
fons honorum has been recognized by our
Right.
society, as well as the majority of the titles that we've looked at. So, and everything that
Thank
we
you,
haven't
Jessica.
finished is in process.
Yes.
And with that, I think we can close out this month's lecture series. Our next one will be the 1st of March, and we should start seeing some social media advertising for that here, usually in the middle of the month. We try also to take the registration information we have for this presentation and send an email out to those folks who have joined us in the past. And these are free activities. That's our effort to try to do outreach. The topic for next month, I don't have. I know, Vance, you were working with the speaker, Marquis Cesar Torno.
Right. Out of Brazil. He told
Okay.
me he was going to do it. I asked him again. He said yes, but I haven't talked to him much in the last couple weeks because he just got back from his New Year's event.
Wonderful.
They have, well, they have a very long holiday period.
I like it. I think that's the way it
He didn't
should
get
be
done
done,
till like
right?
the 20th of the month. So I'm hoping I'll hear some more from him here quickly
Perfect.
and get that set up. And I had some other ideas for a couple other people's. Derwin would know this, the Order of Saint Joachim or Joachim, however you want to say it, which meets up there in Toronto, as well as the United States. But I was going to ask the Grand Master if he would like to speak as well. So
Wonderful. Yep, we'll continue to work and build our outreach and build our lecture base. Again, in the chat is both the link to the society and also a link to our YouTube channel. And hopefully, if the recording worked the way it was supposed to, we will have this up there shortly in the next couple days. And with that, folks, have a wonderful Saturday, a wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Vance, for the presentation. That was really informative. And with that, we wish everybody the very best. And Doc, you have to be the one that closes out this because you're the host.
okay, I'm trying to figure out how to do that. I guess end down in
End.
the bottom corner.
There
All
you
right.
go.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Take care. Thank you for showing up. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.